All right, Jason, we're going to go live, right? You good? I had the countdown. I'm not seeing it in the timeline, AJ.
It might just take a little bit more.
I know there's a little bit of a delay.
Yep, there we go.
All right. All right, Jason, we are live and ready to go. Welcome, everybody. I'm sitting here with the main man, the wizard behind the curtain with creative lighting and just intensely awesome imagery. Mr. Jason Vinson is with us this evening. So big warm welcome to him and just so much appreciation. We are a smaller group, and this cat, man, he is all over the world. He is in demand every single major city that you can think of. His work is just sought after by everybody, and the reasons are very clear to show. So thanks again for joining us tonight, guys. We are back with another special guest live stream, wedding edition. Super excited about all of the participation. Jason, I mean, for him to be able to come on the show is just such an honor. And all of our guests, guys, and this is what we're working hard for. We want to inspire you guys. We want to bring you artists and photographers from across the world that are going to show you that photography isn't boring. It's not same redundant wedding that a lot of Michigan photographers can get stuck in. So we want to think outside the box, and we want to bring you guys, photographers and artists, right here that are going to show you just amazing, incredible work that you can create with a camera, to show you pathways so you can achieve this through education and growth and just being able to think outside the box, open your ears, and enjoy what our guests are sharing with you guys. So coming up in the weeks to come, I did say that we were going to have a special announcement. We do have our next 3 guests. Next month, my man from Colorado, Michigan native, Mr. Jesse Plant, is going to be here, another incredible guy. Following that, guys, new announcements for our upcoming guests. Mr. Jeff Tisman is going to join us. Jeff is one of my personal favorites again. Chris from CH Photography. This kid has just been blasting colors all over the MagMod page. So if you're not in the MagMod community, make sure you check those out. But Chris from CH Photography is going to be here. And then everybody's favorite guy, Sean Lara, is going to be here with us in June as well. So the great guests continue all year round. So thanks a lot for joining in. Let's jump in with Mr. Jason. Jason, give us a brief intro. All of these amazing acclimates, man. You had a hell of a year. So for everyone that doesn't know, fill us in, man. Who are you, and tell us some of the things that you've achieved that you're proud of. Now, guys, if I've kind of talked about it and had this conversation. If you have not seen these groups, when we're done, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to fill the comment section with all of these groups. I mean, these groups, guys, are just full of thousands of the world's most talented. I mean, some of the ISWP images are just, sometimes I just stop and stare for like 10 minutes at some of the images that come across in their timeline. So definitely we'll fill you guys full of these resources, because it's surprising to me, there's a lot of people, especially here, that aren't familiar with those groups and aren't familiar, with that type of inspiration. So we're going to turn you guys on to that. So, well, congratulations, man, because I know those are some pretty damn big awards to receive. So congratulations on that. Now, Jason doesn't just go out and create. Jason has a really good educational brand as well. Like he said, he does some workshop. I know we mentioned that we have one coming up in Canada. But guys, make sure you check out Jason's educational brand. And if you have an opportunity, even if you have to travel, again, think outside the box, find value in investing into education. and just look at Jason's work. And if you can't see the amazing things that you can accomplish, hold on just a second. I got to. Oh, we can't hear Jason. Oh, okay, good. So are we, Jason? I guess we. Yeah, I was just going to say. Yeah, Chris said can't hear Jason as well. Any idea, AJ, on the audio output? I apologize, everybody. Hang on just a second. We had a technical manager switch, so we are just working on a little technical things. Oh, go ahead, Jason. Go ahead and say something. See if.
Check 1, check 2. Breaker 19.
He's good.
He's good?
You can hear him?
He's good. Yep, he's good.
All right, Jason, I think...
Back in the action.
Yeah. I tell you...
I was just be talking about myself. It wasn't anything important anyways.
Oh, can hear him now. All right, thanks, Phil. Appreciate that. So, again, I don't know. I absolutely feel horrible having to go through... Jason was just going through some of those acclimates that he won. But if you don't mind, Jason, I would love if I could bother you for that intro just one more time, just because I don't want people to miss that, because again, those achievements should be addressed and should be heard. So one more time, Jason Vinson.
For sure. One more time. I got my practice in. So Jason Vinson, wedding photographer based out of Northwest Arkansas, husband, father to 3 kids. Primarily shoot weddings, but I do a little bit of photography education. So speak at conferences, teach private workshops. I have my own little online community of education on Patreon. And then this last year, I won the 2023 International Wedding Photographer of the Year for ISPWP, which is the International Society of Professional Wedding Photographers. And then I also won the 2023 Wedding Photographer of the Year for Masters of Wedding Photography.
Again, I know I was redundant, but guys, if you have not heard of these groups, we're going to go ahead and fill those comments with Jason's socials, Jason's resources, maybe some promo links to some things, his educational brand, and of course, those groups that he mentioned. Surprisingly, a lot of times there's photographers that haven't heard of those groups, and I tell you, Jason's educational brand is one of the top notch, the best there is. So if you see a workshop, he's got one coming up in Canada. But if you see an opportunity to learn from somebody like Jason, I think there's a lot of fear in the educational brand, especially around here. Sometimes, and I hear a lot of times people saying, well, gosh, I don't want to spend that much money. Everyone says it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I guarantee you, if you talk to anybody that's went to Jason's workshops or Jeff Tisman's workshops, or these workshops that are just really going to just change your life. I mean, as a photographer, Christian Cardona and Jesse Plant changed my life. Like changed my world of thinking with colors. And when you can be inspired by people, not just looking at damn Pinterest, not just looking at the same redundant wedding photos, think creatively and be inspired and really check out some of these groups. Because once you see the work that's in these groups, guys, and to understand that Jason won the Photographer of the Year, you're going to understand and see how big a deal that is. So Jason, how did you pick up a camera? Because your family stuff, man, is just amazing as your wedding imagery is. So how did you end up picking up a camera for the first time?
Oh, let's see. So me and my wife got married in 2010, and we got just like what we at the time we thought was a super nice camera to take on our honeymoon. Took photos on our honeymoon, came back, shared them on Facebook, and one of her friends was like, "Oh, I really like these. Will you take our family photos?" And so we're like, I guess that could be kind of fun. And so, we meet at a park, and we have one camera and like a kit lens, and so like I would take a couple photos and then I would hand the camera to my wife and she would take a couple photos and we just hand the camera back and forth. And then after that one, a couple more families reached out and we just kind of went down that path. And then eventually someone was like, "Hey, will you shoot our wedding?" And we were like, probably not. That seems like a little bit too much stress. And they really wanted us to do it. It did seem kind of fun. And so we just made it super clear that like, hey, we've never done this before. Like, we don't know anything of anything,
Right.
but they were still in. And so we spent probably like 10 times more money than we made on that wedding, buying more cameras and lenses so that we could be like somewhat prepared to shoot this wedding. And at that time, it was just kind of one of those things, is like, oh, maybe this could be just kind of it's already been like a little bit of a fun little side hustle, and we just step it up a notch, and we kind of do this. And so we shot that first wedding. We both got to the car and took a big deep breath, and we just kind of both enjoyed like the chaos of the day. So my background's mechanical engineering. And so I just kind of love the problem solving aspect of that.
Yeah.
And so for the longest time, it was just, oh, we lost you.
Yeah.
You still there?
I'm still here verbally. It looks like Elgato's still there, but OBS turned me off. Or maybe Zoom turned me off.
Oh, I still got Elgato on my Zoom.
Yeah, let's see.
Your camera die?
Did the camera die? It's plugged in. It shouldn't die. Do we still have power on the camera, AJ? Well, nobody wants to see my ugly face. Ah, there we go.
There we go. Oh, it's back forward. But yeah, so for the longest time it was just a side hustle.
His audio is so crackly. It's so weird that everything works perfectly, and like we're just sitting here not doing a damn thing.
Can you see yourself now?
I can hear myself, but Jason sounds really, really crackly.
I can move my mic away from you a little bit.
Oh,
Is that
now
better?
I know Jason.
He sounds fine in the stream. He sounds fine in the stream.
Okay, but I can't hear him. Detect microphone. Please make sure your microphone is properly connected. Yeah, Zoom is froze. I apologize, guys.
Can you have it talk?
Oh, now I lost it.
Zoom kicked us. Zoom kicked us out.
Zoom kicked us out.
That's why.
Recording in progress.
You're back.
I am back. I tell you.
They told me I was the host, and I was like, I don't know if that's a good idea.
Well, Helen is such a sweetheart from Flashmasters, and we've talked about it. It's so hard sometimes technically, just all of a sudden just something goes wrong, and it's so stressful. We've had some pretty good luck, but I mean, it is what it is. So I appreciate your patience and everybody out there staying with us.
I don't care. It's fine.
Families, weddings. Did your first wedding? How did it go? Like, did you?
It was complete chaos, and we were just flying by the seat of our pants the entire time. But when we got back to the car, we both just kind of realized that we kind of enjoyed the chaos of the day, and so we decided that maybe this is something that we kind of wanted to do a little bit more of, and so that's what we did. We both had full-time jobs, and we just kind of did it as a side hustle, and so it was fun because we, if a wedding came in, then we would do it, and if it didn't, then it didn't, and so it was kind of like a no-stress way to kind of build things up. And then it got to the point in about 2017 where I was using all of my vacation days to shoot like destination weddings. And then I had the opportunity to document the Holi Festival in India for 2 weeks, and I didn't have any vacation days to go. And so I put in a request for time off without pay. They told me no. And so I put in my 2 weeks notice 2 weeks before my flight left to India, and I've been full time ever since.
Wow. Now, looking
Yep.
back at those images from that first wedding,
Yeah.
what are your critiques and your thoughts? You happy still to this day?
No, no. I mean, I wasn't even happy with them then.
Right.
It was super hard because the very first wedding that we shot, it was in a glass chapel, which everybody loves shooting in a glass chapel, but it was at like the most terrible time of day, and so like you're basically shooting in a glass chapel, but you're outside, and so the sun's coming in from a super bad angle. Like one of the couple is in complete direct sunlight where the other's like not. And at the
Right.
time where I was still new enough that I didn't really understand the concepts of like exposing for your highlights so that you can recover the shadows and stuff like that. And then by the time we got done with family formals, all the portraits were done after dark. And I was still even then I was interested in off-camera flash, so I had like an Einstein with a battery pack and a softbox and stuff like that, but I had no idea like how to play. Like I knew the basics of like getting my exposure right, but I had no concept of like where to put the light, how to get dramatic light, like how to expose for the ambient when it's after dark and all of that fun stuff. But even then, like looking back, the very first wedding we ever did, I was using off-camera flash for portraits, off-camera flash for receptions and stuff like that. And so I came up from the beginning with the basis of knowing kind of what I wanted to do. It just took a long time to figure out how to achieve what I had in my head.
Right. So that's kind of cool, and that's very interesting that you started out right with some flash. Like you weren't scared. You knew how important it was. Granted, you needed some directions and some guidance, of course, but you just knew right off the get-go how important flash was. So, and you stuck with it, obviously. My story starts out that same way. I had two SB 800s. I had my Yokimoto or whatever triggers it was, and I was going out there, but I didn't do what I think a lot of times people do, and that's get direction or figure it out. I gave up. I was like, got rid of them, put the one flash on my camera, and shot weddings for the next 15 years before I said, oh, wow, there's a whole nother world of lighting out there that we can do some really cool shit with. So right from the get-go, you're using off-camera flash. So the what was your first like education? Like, where did you go? What was your first resources that you reached out to
Zach
grow?
Arias. Zach Arias was a big one. He had the One Light workshop. And so that was kind of the foundation of learning how to use it, place it, kind of diving into, high speed sync, using ND filters so that you can cut ambient light a little bit more to keep within sync speeds and things like that. And then from there, just a ton of trial and error and practicing. And for me, the biggest thing that changed the way I light is that I would go about like my everyday life and just look for interesting light that I saw, and then I would figure out what about that light was interesting, why was it interesting, and then I would ask myself, what's causing it, and then how can I recreate it if it was no longer there? So where would I need to put the flash? Would there need to be a gel on it? Is it reflecting off of something? How do we get these angles right? How far away does the light need to be away from the window that it might be shining through, and all of those things? I even had some times where I would be home alone and I would just turn off all the lights in the middle of the night and I would walk around the house with a flashlight, or I put a flashlight on a stick and just see like what happens if I put a light like this and shine it, and then you walk around the room a little bit, because putting a flashlight here and putting it directly in front of you is just flat, boring light, and then you kind of walk around and you see, oh, okay, these are kind of the shadows and the shapes that it's causing when you view it from a different angle. And this is a time where there was no constant lights or anything like that, so I was just using like a flashlight on a stick.
Yeah. Well, I love that, because I always tell people I have a very fundamental like a foundation building lighting workshop. And I'm actually we're in the second part of it right now. So we've just added a second light, and people are dialing that ambient. They're figuring out where the light goes. But I told them I tell them after the first part of that, I'm like, every time you watch a movie, like, look at the end table. Like, notice how that phone is lit just enough for you can see it. That's intentional. Or like I think movies are great ways to be able to see light and to be able to study. You know, like, I'm not a big Batman fan, but I find watching Batman so intriguing because of the director of the photography and how they lit that. Or some horror movies where it's so dark, but you can see everything you need to see. Like you have to understand, like, that is completely intentional. And when you take that same aspect into your photography, I think that's when, for me, that's when doors opened. When I can see shadows on the ground and find art in the lines and things of that nature. So, guys, when you hear practice, the word practice, that doesn't necessarily mean always grab a camera and go around and start taking pictures of everything and grab all your gear. Practice means your visual concepts. I always tell people I'm obsessed with composition. I can't walk into a room without in my head looking at the lines, or I can't look at the landscape of the, you know, driving out on the country road, and I can't not look at a barn and find out where that sweet spot is and where the, you know, like, it is an obsession in a way, but it's a fun obsession. And if you do that with lighting on your average everyday life, you do start to see light in a different way. So when you hear that word practice, guys, it's not necessarily grabbing your camera, like Jason said. Go in a dark room, put a flashlight up, and walk around and just see what light does, because it's really intriguing. It's very, very light. I always say, like, to me, I have to have a visual interpretation, so I always use light like a spray paint, like a can of spray paint. And the one thing about graffiti artists that I love is not necessarily just the beautiful, bold colors and the designs and all that stuff, is all of the different ways that they can make gradients in different lines and use in how we feather light and how we, you know, see things. And I don't think you can really fully understand it until you actually see it. And I love the flashlight in the dark because that's something that you can really, really understand a bunch. I did a ring demonstration right here at my desk with a flashlight, some tissue paper for my diffuser, my laptop, and just sat here and just played around with it. And I didn't have a camera. I didn't do anything. It's just sitting there, understanding and trying to figure out that light. So I love to hear you express that as well, because I tell him, people look at me like I'm an idiot, and I'm like, dude, just seriously, just turn, like, especially on bright sunny days, I'm like, play with your shades in your window. You know, just see stuff and understand that really bright light is creating really, really beautiful shadows someplace. So I'm excited to hear you say that, because that is a reference that I use a lot, and people usually look at me like I'm an idiot. So creatively, journey. What you got? Two inspirations, two people that inspired you the most that you like to give a shout out to, just people that really turned you on and really just got you inspired to really bring out the creativity that your work shows.
At the beginning, definitely, you know, people like Ben Chrisman, Lanny and Erica from Two Man Studios, Furwood Easty, Jeff Newsom, Sam Hurd.
Sam Hurd,
like, those are all some of the standout people when I was first coming up that I looked to for inspiration, and I liked what they were doing and stuff. Excellent.
Any tips, real quick, before we jump into these awesome images that you've shared with us? Any tips on somebody who's struggling with creativity, who is maybe even struggling with off-camera flash? Something that just a good, maybe just some insight and some direction on how somebody that's struggling with creating a look for themselves and thinking outside the box. How do you transfer out of that stuck mechanism that's in your head, and how do you get to that open creative mind that we love?
Yeah, so I think it's like when you're trying to figure out your style and what it is that you like to shoot, what I always recommend is to find images that you love and just recreate them. Like, it doesn't matter if it's like a direct copy, but just recreate them as close to perfect as you can. Um, and in that process, you'll learn what it took to get that image. And then once you do that, once you get the image created, then try and do something a little bit different. Try and take it in a small direction. And then the more you do that, you'll start building up this like repertoire of different concepts. And what you'll do is you'll basically, if I steal ideas from 100 different photographers and combine it into something that's now mine, right? I've just basically created my own recipe from all these different little pieces of all these different artists that I like, and I've combined it into something that I enjoy that is now represents me, right?
Yeah.
So some of the things that I do have been directly taken from, photographer A, and then another thing from photographer B. And so just, it's okay to copy. Like, don't directly copy an image and then post it as your own. Like, give shout out and all that fun stuff. And don't stop at recreating the results. It's get to where you can recreate those results and then figure out something else to put a twist on it to make it your own.
Yep, I've heard that as well. Steal from everything that you steal from everybody, but make it your own. And I think that's another thing, like with workshops and education. People always get like, well, I didn't learn all this stuff. I'm like, well, you're not going to go to one magical workshop that's just going to transform you into this, world-class traveling the world photographer. You have to go to a workshop and find something that's value to what you want to do. What I want to do isn't with all the people, what everyone else wants to do. And what you do, what you do, everyone else does want to do, but nonetheless, it's it's one of those things where, like, don't go into something, and if you go into education, don't go into a workshop or don't go into a conference thinking, okay, I'm going to learn this, and this. Just go into that with an open mind and look at everybody and find artists and find photographers that there are certain things that you do enjoy. And like Jason said, just use that to create your own style. But inspiration is everywhere, and it should be. I mean, I think that's, as a photographer, that's one of the things I want to do. Is I want to, if somebody tells me that, oh man, I saw one of your images and it inspired me to go out and try this, like, that's like the coolest shit I've heard all day. Like, that, you can't hear anything cooler, in my opinion, as a photographer. So cool. Well, I hope everyone listens to that, because that's really, really solid advice. And Jason, I know we talked about it a little bit before coming on, and guys, you guys have seen me recently. You guys know that I'm a very cinematic photographer, so I use fog a lot. And we're in a lot of situations where a fog machine is just too much. If you've used the aerosol, Tori will tell you that it freezes your fingers. It's very difficult when you're using it in a large capacity. It works for a quick thing, but it's just not the right answer for most applications, at least for me. Jason was
also
actually
terrible to breathe in.
Yeah, really.
They
bad.
say that it's safe, but if you look at the ingredients, it's propane and butane. It's like, I don't want to breathe that in. It's like, what classifies a safe amount of propane and butane to inhale?
Yeah, well, as long as the FDA says it's okay.
Right.
So, guys, this Smoke Ninja, literally, it fits in the palm of my hand, and it is so powerful. Now, again, if you've taken my workshops or if you've watched education on using fog and stuff, you guys know that a little goes a long way. You don't want that super cloudy, gooky, really just pungent looking smoke, because it eats up the light, it disperses, it's not good. This has such a silky flow. And that was the one thing, Jason, did you notice that it looked like a silk spider web almost pulled apart when it billows. That was one of the biggest things that I liked, because literally it was just a quick, motion behind the athlete, and I just let it billow for about 5 seconds, and it grabs the light, and it really, really creates a really, really cool look that you have to work for with a fogger, or some of the bigger. You have to wait, or you have to tap the button a couple times, or sometimes you have to blow it with a board, or there's a lot of things that you have to do sometimes with a fogger. This product creates it right out of the top. Comes with some attachments. There's 3 different settings. It has the dry ice. So if you guys saw the watch shot that I did of the Carrera. Great low-lying billowing smoke that just kind of lies there. Steam, we did I did a workshop for some kids, and we did a product shoot for a coffee ad, and we did it constant light, and we used the steam for the coffee, and it worked perfectly. So Jason turned me on this product, guys. Smoke Ninja is actually sponsoring my Photomax presentation. So if you guys take the pre-con, you guys will have an opportunity to actually get a hands-on use of the Smoke Ninja. So we're super excited for our new partnership with these guys and excited to see what we can create in the future. So Jason, thanks a lot, man, for turning me on to this product. I want everyone to encourage everybody to check it out online. Their social media needs some new likes, so get to that Smoke Ninja Facebook page and show some love for these guys because they are really, really doing cool stuff for us. AJ,
if you're looking for it, it's
PMI,
you look for PMI gear.
PMI, that's right. PMI is the company that makes it. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's right, guys.
You look up Smoke Ninja, you might not find it.
PMI Smoke Ninja. So Smoke Ninja is just the product name. PMI is the company. So yeah, thanks for clarifying that, brother. AJ, we good to rock and roll with some pictures?
I posted a question on the screen.
In the comments?
Yeah.
Where's I don't see it.
A comment. All right, but I can show you the first picture now.
All right. Yep, let's rock and roll, guys. Let's get into some of these images Jason shared with us, and holy wow. We got a couple images that have just the single images, and then we actually have a couple that Jason provided some step-by-step, so we're actually going to see the progress through the setting up the shot, as well as it looked like some of the editing process as well to get to the final image. So let's go ahead and pull up that first image.
Excited to see too because I don't remember what I sent you.
Well, I was excited because Jason's just got so much mad work that he just said, here's a drive, just pick whatever you want, and I was just like, wow, that's pretty damn boss. When you were just like, just grab whatever you want. There's plenty there. So these were absolutely amazing. So guys, why we're getting AJ to pull up these this first image, Jason was just on. He was on Flash Masters the same day that we had originally had him scheduled. So Helen, bless your heart, I don't know if she's watching or not, but her and Neil own a company in the UK called Flash Masters. And again, it's just a huge group of photographers, creative photographers, off-camera flash, colors, really cool group. But she called me, and she's the sincere, I mean, you know, Jason, she's the most sincerest, sweethearted person, very, very similar to, she's the UK version of Tori, just so sweet and soft-spoken, but she was so upset and so worried about our scheduling conflicts. And I was like, oh no, Jason ended up had a shoot come up, he's not going to be able to make it later on in the day, but it was a Flash Masters members podcast. So there was a couple of these images that I did use that you did do that we went over in the Flash Masters, but for our group, there's not a lot of Flash Masters members, which I highly encourage. Flashmasters.co, not .com, co. Highly recommend, and again, as we do all the time, recommend our members joining that group. Jason, you're an ambassador, right? You're the newest ambassador.
Yep.
And I asked Neil, I was like, why did that take so long? Like, see. All right,
didn't even know who I was until I went. I had to go all the way to the UK to meet him.
No, Neil and Helen are great, and they are doing amazing things at Flash Masters. Their award series, their educational content. So I am great. I'm very happy that you are now a part of that group as well, because I absolutely love it.
Team over there for sure.
Yeah, heck yeah. So guys, this is looks like we're gonna go ahead with the first image, and so this is the first image. This shot is going to develop. AJ, buddy, you can go ahead and just make that a full screen if you want to. So this is going to be a step-by-step image. So this is something that we went through. I think there's 8 or 9 shots. So Jason, this looks like the first one. Tell us what you're thinking and what your vision is.
Can you share your screen, because I can't see what you're looking at?
Oh shoot, Jason can't see the. I think the Facebook can, but oh, you know what, AJ? No, we are not getting. I'm getting it.
Should be in the stream. Is that in there?
This is the chapel in the woods.
No, so if you look at the stream.
Oh, there we go. Okay, Jason, do you have the live stream up? For some reason, like.
Let me. I don't have my phone up. Let me pull it up and see.
Our OBS was giving us some challenges as far as doing multiple. We're gonna get that figured out, but.
Okay. Yep, I got it up.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right, so this is the first shot of the series that we have, and this church is incredible. I've seen it in a few of your photos. But walk us through how'd you set this up and where you're at right now in your mind.
Yeah, so this is a chapel that I shoot at a lot. This is just past sunset, and so the idea here is that I wanted the chapel to be like lit up, glowing with this nice warm light, and then I was going to silhouette the couple against the door. The problem is that this chapel is also very strict on timelines, and they were essentially like pushing us out of the way. And so what's happening is that the ambient light is not dark enough in order for the chapel to be bright enough. And so what I did is I got my sky exposure where I needed it to go. And ideally, I could have just waited, another 15, 20 minutes for it to get a little darker so that the chapel could then be a little bit brighter within the ambient light. But I couldn't do that. So what I ended up doing is now we'll go to the next image because I don't remember what order it's in.
So Jason, is the amber light in the chapel? Is that from the chapel themselves, or
that's just the natural? Yep, that's just the natural lighting of the chapel.
Okay.
And so the next thing I did, so here this is a flash. This is an 8200 Pro with a Magmod sphere and then a Magmod full CTO gel. It's placed in between the couple and the door, pointing at the door to create like a hot spot to create a silhouette of the couple. And then if you go to the next image.
All right, next image.
Okay, now this is just the light that's inside the chapel. And so what this is a Godox 1200 Pro at the very, very back of the chapel at full power, firing into the ceiling with a full CTO gel on it. And so what that 1200 Pro is doing is basically just filling in the chapel completely with light. Similar to the lighting that the chapel already has, but it's just giving me the output that I needed that I couldn't get by competing with the ambient light. And then the next image should be a combination of the two, the door light and the inside of the chapel light.
What are the pink lights? Is it just random, or is there?
What's that?
I see a little bit of the. Sorry, I was away from my microphone. The pink lights. Is that just something that kind of happens, or was that you?
I don't know what that is.
Okay.
I don't see. It's not in the original image.
Okay.
It might just be the way that it's being broadcast. It might be like a weird, like a fringing thing, the way that it's sampling the image or something.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, but this is the final result. Again, not the final result. This is the initial idea that I had in my mind. And so a lot of the times what I'll do is in situations like this where I'm shooting in lower light is I'll still shoot at ISO 100 and I'll shoot at a much lower shutter speed because I'm intentionally trying to maximize dynamic range.
Yep.
And so in this situation, I'm at ISO 100, but my shutter speed is at 1/4 of a second. Because I can handheld 1/4 of a second, especially when I'm using off-camera flash and the couple's not moving and stuff like that.
Yep.
And so in situations like that, once I get this image, then I'll start introducing some movement into the image. And so the next image is now I'm just kind of playing around. And so after getting the shot that I initially had in mind, I have a few more seconds that I can just kind of play around and see what I get. And so this is a shutter drag with the light that's inside the chapel. And the light that's between the couple and the door. And so the flash that's inside the chapel obviously freezes the chapel, as well as the flash that's on the door freezes the couple. Yeah. I liked this look, but also we'll see if you have it. One thing I'll do a lot of the times when I'm using two different lights is I'll intentionally trigger my, I'll do my shutter too fast that the lights won't be able to keep up, so that I'll get an exposure with one flash and not the other. And so I think the next image should be just the couple and not the inside of the chapel.
And there it is.
It's not there. Anyways, so I got that, but what ended up happening is I liked that look, but the couple was still too small, and so I got closer, did the exact same technique. That's how I got this image, and then the next one should be where the chapel light doesn't go off.
That is incredible.
So that'll be this one, and this is what I considered kind of like my favorite of the series, even though all of those were delivered to the client. But this is kind of one of the ones that was the more interesting. So this is just the door light going off and the chapel light didn't go off. But again, I'm not going in and turning lights on and off and making decisions like that. I'm just intentionally hitting my shutter fast enough that I know one light's not going to be able to keep up with the refresh rate as the other. I have images where just the chapel light went off, but those ones I didn't do anything with because obviously you can't see the couple. But I'm just intentionally just doing camera movements while I hold the shutter down, knowing that one flash is going to go off at one time, another is going to go off the other, and they're both going to go off on another as well. And then that kind of gives me ideas to kind of play off of.
I love how the door looks like it has fire coming out of it. Like, that is gnarly. That is such a dope image. You did a video recently, or maybe not recently. I saw it recently. I'm not sure exactly when you did it. Something that was really eye-opening for me as far as you were talking about, like, how much light comes into the camera based on the shutter. You know what video I'm talking about?
I don't.
It was a breakdown just of, like, in your camera, how much, like, the faster that your shutter is, like, the less light, even if the flash was still at the same power, the slower shutter allows more light in for the time that the shutter was open. I have it saved. I have to go back and watch that, but it was a great video, and I'm going to share that in the group because what you were just talking about there, I think has something to do with that video that you did. Stunning image, but again, I think, guys, if you looked at that image, go back to that image one more time, AJ. If you looked at that first image and then you looked at this, you have to develop a mindset to know what your camera can do. What are your abilities to do that you can walk out into a situation like just in the middle of the woods? Now, granted, it's a beautiful chapel, but the finished image, this image that we're looking at, has nothing to do with that chapel. It has everything to do with understanding that light and using that vision to create something. And without learning and without understanding light like that, this image would have never been possible. So yeah, that is absolutely stunning.
Also, just giving yourself room to play with an idea and to follow inspiration in the moment, because I didn't have this. This isn't something I came up with, right? This is just something that kind of unfolded as the initial image of the chapel being lit with the chapel being lit up in just like a standard image. That was the initial idea, and then giving myself room to play, and then seeing something that inspired me and having the knowledge and know-how in order to build off that inspiration to come up with something different.
Yep.
And take that inspiration further, like, in the moment.
That is really good advice, because I'm actually just starting, and I know you use a lot of continuous lights now. And I fell into, I did a Halloween shoot with Tori. We were, it was like a puppet kind of thing. And I had these like red, dark kind of gels and this really kind of cinematic look and vision in my head when we went down. And I just caught her with a model light from one of the flashes. We were in a basement. It was kind of dark, but I caught the model light, and I was just happened to glance down at my camera, and I was like, wow, look how beautiful that light is. And it was just one of those times there that I was so creatively driven and excited about the shoot. Like, we had talked about it, we planned, we looked for the outfit, and we went through this whole process, and now is the time to shoot. And I've got this vision in my head, and now I'm having to realize that 2 seconds before we're starting the set, I'm changing every single thing that I had planned for weeks, and thought
Right.
about. And I think that's something that is really hard to be able to do. I almost talked myself out of it. I was like, oh no, I'm going to do this. And I was like, no, what the hell? Like, why would I want to change what you're looking at right now? And again, I think that having that knowledge base and just having that understanding allows you to really feed, right, like you said, even in the moment, because that's sometimes when you get the best.
That reason right there is why I don't location scout anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, so because whenever we would get to a location, especially like destination weddings, we always felt like we had to go out and do location scouting and get an idea and get a plan. And that inevitably something would go wrong. You get an idea to shoot at one location. By the time you get there, the lighting's just a little bit different, or there's a hot dog cart in the way, or something happens. But because you had it on the list of things to do, you try and make it work, even though if you had just shown up, you never even would have considered it as an option because it doesn't work, right?
Yep.
So I found myself constantly trying to force a square peg into a round hole in situations like that. And so now I just show up. I have a general idea of where I want to start, and then from there I just let light and composition guide me. Yeah.
And guys, one of those things that you hear in something we do. We did a few times last summer, and we have a ton of these planned for this summer in locally here in Michigan. So there's these things called photo walks. If you've been around, if you've and you've seen them, you know what I'm talking about. But a lot of times people are like, "Oh, what the hell's a photo walk?" And a photo walk is a great opportunity. So if you see a photographer that you enjoy their work and they got some stuff that you really like, and you hear that they're doing a photo walk. If you go to conventions, you'll hear a lot of times photographers do photo walks. What that is exactly what Jason said that he does now. It's an opportunity to see a photographer start from nothing. You pick up your bag, you walk down the street, you walk down an area or wherever the photo walk's going to take place at, and you let those shots develop right there in front of you. So you actually get to see what they were looking for. What light, what shadows, what lines in the building, things of that nature. So if you ever get a chance to take a photo walk and you've never done one, I highly, highly recommend it. I think they're a lot of fun. Cool. Jason, let's take a look at that next image. You ready, buddy? AJ? Yep. All right. Love it. Tell me that orange was that created or was that natural?
No, that's natural. That's just light pollution from the city on the other side of the hill.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is a fun one. So maybe 6 or 7 months ago, months before this image, I had done a champagne shot that was just a couple spraying champagne, and I tried to get as wide as I could just to kind of show all like the entirety of all of the spray that comes off of these bottles. And what I noticed is that it kind of looked like stars in the sky, and so I just kind of had this idea in my head. And so whenever we were shooting this wedding and it was out in the middle of nowhere and you can kind of see the stars, I decided that I wanted to try and recreate it. And so I wanted to make it look like they were spraying champagne and the champagne was like creating stars in the sky. Okay. And so I literally walked around that venue for maybe 20 minutes trying to find a vantage point where I could like get them on a hill where you could see the stars and there weren't a ton of like trees and distractions because this is Arkansas, so there's just like trees everywhere. Okay. So I was just trying to find like that little spot. And so I finally found the spot and I got my exposure dialed in. I had it was 1 second. So I could get like a good exposure for the stars and stuff. And then I had my wife stand in. I got my light set up on a stick. It's got a grid on it and it's like 15 feet away. And I got the exposure dialed in. I was like, all right, we're basically there. Go get the couple. And then I was sitting there thinking, and I was like, 1 second is going to be way too long to do a spraying champagne shot. Like 1 second of them do it, like it's just going to be a blurry mess. And so I was like, I got to cut it down. I was like, I can maybe get away with 1/10 of a second, right? And so I go down to 1/10 of a second. Because I did that, I had to raise my ISO in order to get the stars back. And then at that point, my off-camera flash was already at its lowest power and already, 15 feet away. I couldn't even really get it further because there's a tree line and stuff like that. And so I have no way to actually light them because now the light's like way, way, way too bright. And so I started thinking, I was like, this is one of those perfect situations where this is why MagMod sends those little ND filters, right? That you
I
throw
love
on your
them,
flash.
man. I tell you, bro, I got a stack of them, and I love them. They are
But
amazing.
I've never used them, never had a need for them, and so I didn't have any in my bag, right? I just threw them out or left them in my closet. But then I started thinking that, CTO, color temperature orange, and CTB, color temperature blue, are essentially the opposites of each other. And so I
Yeah.
did have those. And so what I did is I stacked a CTO gel and a CTB gel on top of each other to basically create my own neutral density filter because they both of them stacked cut the light, and then
See,
the
that's why
colors
you're
of
the wizard,
two
man. Like, are you kidding me,
neutralize each
bro?
other.
Like, I've needed one more ND filter for another flash, and I've already I got them on 3, but I need them on that other one. And I tell you what, bro, that's why you're the man, man.
Now you know. You just stack a CTO and a CTB, and that ended up being the perfect amount to cut my light. I actually think I needed to turn my light up a stop or something like that. And so then by the time I got that all troubleshooted and figured out, the couple comes rolling up over the hill. We have one bottle of champagne. That's all they had.
Right.
And so we had one try to get it going. Took the images, and because it's still 1/10 of a second, there's still motion blur, right? So I still have to compete with that, even though the flash is freezing them. There's enough ambient light that there's motion blur and stuff like that that's kind of within there. And so within that, there's like maybe 3 images that were sharp. And of that, only one of them worked because the other was like awkward faces, or the champagne wasn't coming out as much or something like that. And so it just so happened that I got like one sharp image with the champagne coming out.
You ever use? Nah, I'll save that for another conversation. All right. No, I love the orange, and I tell you what, I have a lot of questions. A good dear friend of mine, Pam, maybe she's watching. We were just talking about CTOs and CTBs the other day. I love using the CTGs on a boring sky if the colors are right in a bridal party. That you can make that fuchsia really cool, really pop out. But we've done the dramatic sky, kind of workshops around here, or just kind of a photo meetup where we just met up in a park, and I'm like, hey, I want to show you guys something really cool, because this is like, it's on camera, just the most amazing thing that you can see. So we've learned about that, but then a lot of people times, we're shooting at the San Marino Club in Troy tomorrow night, and it may have a very warm reception. So she was asking about the CTOs. Well, now will you use a CTO? And I'm like, yeah, but it's going to be kind of the opposite. I'm not going to use it for a dramatic effect. I'm going to use it to make the flashes look like the same colors that the chandeliers are, and then I'm going to fix it in my camera, and everything's going to look nice. But then again, here's another way where the color correction gels. I mean, if you understand that color wheel and understand what colors are doing, and understand what all of those little plastic pieces that people are carrying around for some reason are and do, I mean, that was a tremendous fix. I mean, without that shot would have been too bright. And
I'd have been dead in the water.
I tell you, the color correction gels, there's so much exploring. If you haven't explored, if you haven't really dove into these things, just playing around with them, there's so many cool things. Jesse did a workshop with me and Tori last year at WPPI, and he did the red, blue, and green against the white wall, where it kind of cancels out on your subjects but leaves some really cool shadows. So again, I mean, I'm continuing to learn, even myself, just really, really cool ways that you can use those color correction gels. So great use of that here, because that is completely just mind-boggling to me. I would have never thought about that.
Well, now you will.
Yes, I will, brother. Yes, I will. All right, let's go ahead and jump to the next one, AJ.
Yeah.
So I love this image specifically because I love that you included this image with it. I think sometimes for me, when I was beginning to try to get to a creative point and try to do different things, I always saw people shooting at weddings in venues that had no bearing on the venues that I was at. And I think a lot of times, I talked to other photographers, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I went to this workshop, saw this thing," and boy, the pictures of all, the places that the pictures that they were showing are nothing like what my weddings look like. And when I saw this image first, I'm like, dude, this looks like everyone's damn wedding. I don't care where you're at.
Main street in any town, yeah.
Dude, you're kidding me? Like, that is something that was totally relatable to me. And I think something that I enjoy with education is when I watch somebody or I listen to somebody and they're relating to me. I'm from Lansing, Michigan, man. There is not shit for venues around here. Sorry to all my venue owners. There's nothing. We've talked about this. We understand this conversation. There's nothing elaborate. We don't have tons of architecture. We don't have really cool stuff. Detroit's got some hustle. Detroit's got some grime, but like how many alleyways and broken down warehouses are cool? Like, so as Michigan, this is our wedding. This is what we see. This is the bride and groom and their friends, and they're outside, the normal brewery or something. And now you've taken, an opportunity to see this and to create an image. I don't know if AJ went to, there. Sorry, man. So you took that to this, and everyone's got bubbles at weddings. So can you break us down in how you created this stunning bubble shot in the middle of the street?
Yeah, so this is, these bubbles actually weren't at the wedding. I was packing up all my gear, and my son was in the driveway playing with bubbles, and I was just like, that could be cool. So I stole all of his bubbles. No, we had like a whole little like variety pack thing. So I took a handful of his bubbles and I threw them in the car, and I was like, if the opportunity comes up, maybe we'll use them. And so the sun had gone down. It was that perfect time of the reception where it was time to maybe think about doing a nighttime shot. And so I go outside, and there is just a massive storm rolling in. And so I run inside, and I tell the couples, like, hey, if we're going to do this, we got to do it like basically right this very second. And so as we're walking outside, I'm just grabbing guests that are near the door and be like, hey, you want to help us do this picture real quick? And so I grab these three girls, I hand them bubbles, and I was like, okay, you stand here. And at this point, the wind's just like howling down this street because the storm's rolling in. So if you look at the bubble image, you'll see that,
you can
like,
see the shapes of the bubbles.
Yeah, the bubbles are stretching, and like some of them are popped and stuff like that. And that's because they're basically standing downwind, and they're not even really having to blow. They're just pulling the bubbles out, and the wind's just blowing it across. And so I'm like, hey, you try and aim it up. You aim it in the middle, and you aim it down low so we can kind of get some coverage across the frame. And in this image too, you'll kind of see some of those aren't bubbles. It's little pieces of rain. Okay. And so after we get this bubble shot, I guess real quick before we go into that, I'll talk about, well, let me finish this and then I'll talk about the lighting. So once the bubble shot's ending, again, this ties back into the last setup that we talked about. This is the image I had in mind. But then you try and take it a step further, you get inspired. So I saw little pieces of rain because the storm's rolling in. So I'm like, okay, well, now we'll kill the bubbles, but you guys stay there, and we'll just keep shooting as this storm comes in, just like the very edge of it, before we get completely drenched. So the next image is just the rain that's rolling in. And I like both of them. I go back and forth. But the reason why I really love the rain image is because of how much wind there is. It's not the rain's not coming straight down. You can actually see like the shape of the rain as the wind's blowing it around the couple. So it has like a texture and a movement around the couple. I don't know if it's going to come up or not.
No, the movement and the whole image is you can definitely tell something's going on. Shots
rain
like
image coming up.
So do we have the rain? Is there another one of the bubble?
It's the exact same setup, but it's just rain. Maybe you didn't pull it out.
You know what? I didn't pull it out. That was my bad, Jason. Yeah,
They're fine. We can post it in the comments, but basically it's a similar setup, but it's the rain coming down, and you can see the movement of the rain and stuff like that. But yeah, so the reason why I like this bubble shot too is because of the shape of the bubbles, right? So it's not a traditional bubble shot where everyone gets the bubble image. It's like if it wasn't for the storm, it would have looked like everyone else's bubble shot, but because there's something interesting about those bubbles because they're popping and stretching and warping and stuff like that.
It looks like there's some explosion, like some bubbles popping. And to be honest with you, like obviously I think on shots like this we always hope that we never get the face, but there's that bubble on her cheek that I absolutely love. Like if you're gonna have a bubble over the face on a shot, I think that's that's the kind of bubble you want over her face. AJ, go back to that shot just real quick. Yeah, I mean the bubble's perfect because it's on her cheek, but it's not covering her mouth, and it just really adds to the depth.
It's not covering her face, but it's still interacting with them a little bit, so it doesn't look like they're like just pasted in there.
Yep.
But for lighting, this is actually a 2-light setup. So this is like I kind of call it like a stacked lighting. So basically, there's one light that's about 3 or 4 feet behind them, pointed at them. So it's giving them a rim light. It's also the light's bouncing off the groom's face to light up her face. So it looks like they're looking right at each other, but they're just slightly staggered so that light can bounce off of him and fill in her face. So she has like a nice soft glow on her.
Love that.
And then there's another light that's still behind them, pointing at them, but it's about 6 to 10 feet behind them. And that's primarily to light up all the bubbles. Because had I just used the light that was close to them, it wouldn't have given me enough coverage to light up all of the bubbles for the entire part of the frame. And had I only used the light that was far away from them, I wouldn't have had enough pop in order to give them a nice rim light and have that glow on her face. Or the bubbles would have been like totally overexposed.
I love the idea about, I'm really taking a lot of time about in learn posing right now. I think it's probably one of my weaker spots. So I'm really focusing in and trying to learn as much as I can. And when I mix posing and I mix lighting all together, you learn, to get rid of shadows. It's not always about moving the light. It can be about moving the chin 2 inches. And I love the idea that you are using him as a reflector. And you don't see it in the image. It looks like he is dead square right above her, looking almost down at her. So that I love the idea that his head is coming in just a little bit to be able to give her that light, and doubling up on the backlight. I mean, who thinks of that? Like honestly, I would have just probably moved the one light back and tried to compensate both of those techniques into one light. When a second light is what makes this shot so cool, because you get all of the colors in the bubbles. The couple's lit up perfectly. So there's no front light on this. This is just strictly all.
No, so on the behind the scenes, you'll notice that my back is to a venue, so there's some bounce and stuff and a little bit of ambient that's coming from the venue, but that's it. Yeah, there's no front light here.
Cool, man. Great shot. Again, way to make something amazing out of a normal situation. And I tell my clients that too. People always say like, oh, what's the difference? Why are photographers this and why are photographers that? I mean, I can get a photographer for $1,500 or I can get a photographer for $15,000. And I'm like, well, and the most practical way to look at it is a great photographer can make great photos out of a bad spot. if your day is filled with rain and you're stuck in limited spots, if you invest into a great photographer that's invested years and has learned, you're not going to have to worry about crappy wedding pictures. It doesn't matter really any situation that you get. A great photographer is going to make something magical from it. And I think that's one of the things that I kind of do like about having a lot of venues that aren't necessarily the most elaborate and creative opportunity having locations. It is the challenge of taking a moment where nobody else around can see what you see. Like, I love, especially with a client, you get them a client and you're like, oh, here, just do this weird thing here. Okay, here, just, do this. And then you show them the camera and they're like, what in the hell? How did you see that? Like, so no, good vision with this shot, man. Excellent shot. One more? Is it one more or two more? Two more. Okay, cool. I loved this one because this is the same setting as the next one that we're going to show.
Yep. So this is the smoke ninja. No, I'm just joking.
Well, I think, and again, I think this is where a lot of photographers are going to be happy, and they're going to leave with this shot on their camera excited. And again, when you just take it to that next step, when you really just say, hey, this is a beautiful shot, but this is what everyone's going to get. But this next frame is why you got me.
So this is obviously just a natural light image. And then this is kind of the image that I had in mind. And so this is two lights. This is a 8200 Pro with a full CTO gel behind the couple pointed towards the camera. And then I took an AD 600 Pro with no gel, and I literally just like sprinted off into the woods and set it up in the woods. So the idea here was that obviously the warm color is going to be on the couple, but if it was just one light, all of those trees would kind of fade into like a muddy black shadow. And so I wanted some separation there. And then I also loved the complementary colors. And so that's what that 8600 is for.
So the purple is a natural color coming through the yellow.
The purple
and the
is just where the two lights are mixing.
Yeah, I love that. That gradient is absolutely beautiful. I think Amber Henry does a really good job of her color mixing, like the way that she blends it. And I think without that purple, it would be cool, but the purple adds so much. How far behind the couple is the yellow light?
Maybe 4 feet.
Okay, so pretty close.
Yep. And then that 600 Pros maybe 30 to 50 yards.
Okay, so so that one's a little ways back then. Yeah, no, that is a stunning image. Hey Neil, what's happening, brother? So can you go back to that? Go back to that natural light. Go back to this one. Again, I have so many people that may watch this, and I really want you to see the variables I think that are important. Great composition, I think, because of the nice bare area. You got the trees to the left. But listen, if you guys are using off-camera flash, experimenting, I think this is a perfect shot that I think everybody around here can relate to. There's so many damn places that you can go to get this shot right here. So maybe this may be one of those shots that you try to I gotta figure out, I keep my screen. Like you mentioned, maybe duplicating. This is a perfect example, I think, of a shot where a lot of our viewers and a lot of people here in our area can go out and try to recreate. So I'm going to challenge everybody that's out there. Again, this shot can be, there's plenty of places to recreate this shot. So I'm going to challenge you to recreate this shot that Jason did. And if you do, obviously share them with us as well. So amazing.
I'd love to see.
Amazing creativity again, man. And again, just making a beautiful shot. Nonetheless, I mean, the natural light shot, I can't think of too many clients that aren't going to be happy with that. But going that extra distance for you as a photographer is really what makes you stand out, and what makes that normal image a Jason Vinson image. So guys, yeah, go out and recreate that. All right. We try to keep it about an hour, but we got one more image.
Oh yeah.
I never keep it an hour, man. It's just that's my mark. I can be a windbagger sometimes. So this is a really cool image. You got to break this down on the reflection. Is there a reflection? What's going on here?
Okay, so this one's fun. So this is in St. Louis. And the couple had a hotel room that overlooked the St. Louis Arch. So that's the St. Louis Arch there in the middle of the frame. And so I wanted to look through their window and be able to just somewhat see the arch. I didn't need it to be like tack sharp in focus or whatever. I just kind of wanted to use it a little bit. And so what I wanted to do is silhouette them against something in the wall. On the wall that was inside the hotel room. The problem is that everywhere in the hotel room had just clutter on it. Like, there's picture frames and microwaves and refrigerators and stuff like that. So I couldn't get just like a a clean section of wall that would reflect off of this window. And so what I ended up doing is I just happened to have one of those little like fold up reflectors that I had stuck in my bag. So I took it out, I unzipped it, and I only used the scrim part of the reflector. So it's like the translucent part of the reflector.
Yep.
And I held that up between the behind them, and then I shined a Stella Pro Reflex S into the reflector. So it's
now,
lighting
is that a
up
continuous light?
circular. Yeah.
Or that? Okay. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. And that's important because if it wasn't a continuous light, then it would be hell to try and focus on them, right? Because all the lights are turned off. Had I turned on even just a single light inside the hotel room, then I wouldn't be able to see the city lights and everything behind them, or I'd be seeing, all the picture frames and refrigerators and all that fun stuff. And so everything in the room is completely dark. There's a light pointing through this scrim to light them up. The hardest part about this was getting their silhouette to be sharp because, this is the Midwest and all the windows are double paned. And so if you're even slightly off with your angle, then what you'll get a double silhouette. And so I had to get in the perfect situation to where essentially, because basically everything that's in this picture is a reflection, right? I'm shooting through the window, and so the couple in the top left is a reflection off of the window, and I had to get that perfectly lined up so that the double reflection of the double pane windows made their silhouette sharp. And then from there, it looked like them silhouetted in a fake moon type thing. It looked super cheesy and it looked absolutely terrible. And so I needed to fill the frame with something that was a little bit more interesting. And so I used the glass from a coffee table to fill the bottom of the frame. And then what happened is that there was just a dark area on the right-hand side. And so then I used my cell phone to reflect the left-hand side of the frame onto the right-hand side of the frame.
That is nuts.
That's what you're seeing. So the top right is a reflection. The bottom left is a reflection from the coffee table, and then the right two are a reflection off of the cell phone. So it's like it's a triple reflection in a single image.
That's what I loved about it, because if you look at all of those, like all of the silhouettes, everyone is different. So there's no mirroring, there's no, that is all legit, and that's really, really, really cool. Yeah.
Again, this wasn't the idea, right? I didn't have the intention of going in and doing a triple reflection off of a mirror to do this, right? It was all just problem solving. I had an idea to silhouette them with the city lights in the arch, and then once I got that, it just looked cheesy and there wasn't enough to it. And so it was like, how can I fill the frame with something else? It's like, okay, well, I can reflect that down. That still wasn't enough. And so how can I fill in the right-hand side of the frame? It's like, okay, well, I can reflect them again on the right-hand side of the frame.
So were you holding the glass from the end table and the phone? Like, where was the...
No, I was able to get it to line up to where I drug it over to where I was.
Okay.
And so I was able to get it to where it was right there, but yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Again, I mean, I think everything across the board was literally a situation that we've all seen, but we just didn't see it like that. Being able to have the tools to be able to modify your idea and your vision as you work through the process to end up with something that you didn't go into. And I think that I found that with almost every shot. Every shot was kind of created through the shot. It wasn't necessarily...
Yeah. A lot of it's just having the dedication to follow through with an idea, right? Like if you have an idea and it doesn't work out, it's like a lot of people will just end there. It's like, oh, the idea didn't work. But it's like, okay, well, there's something here, so what do I need to do to get it to work? Like the initial idea wasn't enough, but it got me to where I am now, and so now I need to just follow the trail and figure out where these breadcrumbs are so that I can get to the end result. And then once you get to the end result, look left, right, up and down, and see if there's anywhere else that you can go. Right.
Well, brother, man, it has been an absolute honor and treat.
Thank you.
Seriously, man, like you are an inspiration. I know you, like I said, you've been an inspiration to me for years, and I know that you just keep on inspiring others as well. So keep being you, man, and keep doing that family those family photos are inspiring. And I tell you
that's
what,
my favorite. If I could do that full time, I would.
well, I love that. Now, is it? I don't know. Was it just you or you and your wife? But you have a new you have a family brand as well outside of your wedding brand, right? You have a family.
Yeah, I do. I do a little bit of family documentary. I don't. It's kind of one of those things like if you just happen across it, then you might reach out, but I don't really push it very much. The hardest part about family documentary stuff is that a lot of people love the idea of real life images, but they don't see themselves in it because they don't find themselves to be interesting enough.
Right.
And so it's hard for people to realize that like if you have kids, then like your life's interesting enough. It's just not interesting to you because you live it every day, right? You're seeing the same movie over and over again, but if you show that movie to anybody else, they're gonna be like, "Well, this is kind of interesting." That's why reality shows are a big hit, right? It's like,
well, people always tell me.
Look.
People always say that during their weddings, like, I just want candid. Just candid shots. Like that's something that I hear regularly. Like, I want a lot of those candid. But you forget about that when you think about your family portraits. People think family shots, you should stand there, all together. And man, your family shots just tell the story of your family. Like I feel like I know your wife and kids just through your imagery, man. And you are a tremendous dad. So a huge high five through through the screen here to you, man, just for being an awesome representation for men and really what dads need to be.
I appreciate that.
We play a big role, and you do an amazing job, and I see that. So kudos to you, man. And again, yeah, just thanks for being here. I hope you come back here another time. Hopefully we'll have a growing group, and next time we'll have a big audience for you. But your time, your wisdom is so appreciated. So thank you again.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Appreciate you having me. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, I'm in the group now, so tag me in the comments and ask questions. I'm happy to jump on and answer some stuff if you're watching this not live.
If there is any links that you see us not post after we get done here that you want to share, Jason, please share them with us. We'll be supporting all of your brands and all of your work, brother. So thanks again. Have a wonderful night, and thanks for your time.
Appreciate it. Yep. Thanks. See you guys.
All right. Take care.